Hey, what's happening, y'all? Welcome to Frame by Frame, where if you were an international listener and viewer watching, I am grateful to be a voice that has reached across the waters. It is an honor, especially in today's day and age where we are witnessing a lot of division, hostility, and friction, that we have to remember to find some common ground. And since we all walk on the same land, that is on Mother Earth, and we're under the same moon and sun, that we can also unite in art, which in this case is the simple enjoyment of watching a movie. No matter what time period it is released in, or what home language it is shot in, and what culture is being expressed. Movies are the common thread that holds us all together. It can awaken our minds and it has the power to open our hearts, thus leaving a tremendous influence in our lives. And that's the kind of amalgamation that I personally like to provide in this safe space, not just for my local listeners, but to international ones as well. And when it comes to movies reaching international waters, oh, I know that the impact is real. Now, today's episode, it serves as a sequel to my Off the Script Part 1 episode, which I had previously mentioned about deciding to cut April's movies in half because, let's be real, y'all, I'd be sitting here all day and I'd be pulling a No Shave November kind of deal, growing out this facial hair like Dumbledore. Well, I mean, to be honest, I've never actually tried that before, but being Hispanic, I'd say that the odds are in my favor. And plus, there are a lot of details to cover, and with the new releases that are occurring weekly, oh, trust me, I'm trying to do y'all a favor here. So I can't be nothing now. Although I will say that I am going to change the format in the foreseeable future just a tad bit when it comes to reviewing movies down the line. But before I get excited about what I've got to tell y'all, like a kid at Disneyland, because oh, it's hard for me to contain this excitement here. If you are searching through different streaming services to see what the vibe is, well, I'm glad that you came to the right podcast because we too look through numerous services to see what is left, what's been recently added, and what is on our watch list for work and for enjoyment, of course. So while you're browsing through, keep in mind to press the like button if you're on Netflix, subscribe if you have made it to Hulu, rate the episode and the show if you've expanded to Disney Plus, and don't feel nervous to drop a comment when we get to max. Or even share with those in your circle when it comes to Amazon Prime. Well, you know what? Let's not wait any longer. I've got a lot in store for y'all, so let's go. I would officially like to clarify something in regards to my previous episode, which was the Go Ninja Go episode. In this day and age, we see a lot of miscommunication occurring on social media simply through misinterpretation, and we can see how that catch on. We can see how that can catch on very easily like an illness versus going straight to the source to uncover the real intentions and just being straightforward about certain matters. And this is where y'all are going to see me or hear me in this case to setting things in the clear. So I had discussed with my guest Esmond about the latest trend that is occurring today about casting talent based on social media presence and follower count for movie and TV projects versus casting people with talent and experience and with their hard work ethic. And so I had used an example of Ariana Grande being cast as Galinda in Wicked as a pro of that trend working in specifics with the numbers. However, it came to my attention that it was a concern for some people thinking that I was dismissing her talent and enhancing solely of her casting based on her social media impact and her profile, which is not true at all. Listen, I've seen her work in what she calls outside business with her red hair acting gigs. And of course, who has not heard her music and the amazing vocal abilities that she is capable of? And plus, I also watched the director John Chu's perspective when it came to casting Galinda and Elphaba, and when it came to Ariana Grande and what they were looking for. So it's without a doubt that she is talented. She's one of the best vocalists in the game right now, and she earned that role of Galinda with the voice lessons that she took ahead of time in order to prove herself on the auditions. And also, y'all, this is her dream role. Now, the point that I was mentioning in the Go Ninja Go episode was more focused on the trend itself. And I used her scenario at the top of my head that how the math was mostly mathing as a theory. When you look at her follower count, the box office gross receipts overall, and then when you factor in the cost of tickets, the number of tickets that were purchased, etc., depending on where you're at, it was more as a guesstimated hypothesis. And since I was quoting Ethan Hawke referring to people with minimum acting experience and a big social media presence to be cast in these projects in order for them to be greenlit, I can see where some of y'all got the wrong idea. If anything, y'all, Ariana Grande showed all of us that she's more gifted than we thought, and she definitely has not reached her vocal peak. And I'm going to be going further into detail of my thoughts with Wicked, her casting, and her portrayal of Glinda in a future episode. And I just wanted to clear the air out there. So, whew, I'm glad that is off my chest. Okay, so now let's get down to business. After we were done with Drop in Off the Script Part 1, well, it's a good thing that the person behind it was not dropping threats on others, like important people gathering at the G20 summit. Now, the film G20, starring Viola Davis, who also helped produce this film, alongside a supporting cast of Ramon Rodriguez, Anthony Anderson, Marseille Martin, Clark Gregg, and Anthony Starr. G20 is an action thriller that was released on April 10th, directed by Patricia Riggin. For some of y'all who don't know, she also directed Miracles from Heaven and Disney Channel's Lemonade Mouth, with the political backdrop where Madam President Sutton brings her military skills to fight off terrorists that have taken over a G20 conference event. So now with this film in particular, I don't have any box office reports due to the fact that it was distributed worldwide via Amazon MGM Studios and AKA on Amazon Prime. Although I will say that it did receive 52% positive reviews from critics, and with audiences, it had a slightly better response, with 59% positive reviews from the viewers as of this moment. Now, first off, if you're going to cast Marseille Martin and Anthony Anderson as father and daughter, might as well bring Tracy Ellis Ross for a Blackish reunion. I mean, have her be an aunt or a White House staff member or something. Yeah, this was robbed opportunity. Regardless, this is your standard action political thriller film that is similar to the concepts of Olympus Has Fallen, Air Force One in terms of hostage takeover situations. When it comes to Ms. Viola Davis, oh, let me tell y'all, I always watch her work, even if the movie sucks, because it's Viola Davis. She is that straight A actor slash student who does her homework and does her best to deliver on her performance with leaving no crumbs behind whatsoever. I mean, just like playing a president with military background, even though her character saw combat 20 years ago. Oh yeah, she saw the combat. She wasn't in that said combat. It's said in the movie. Although, with that being said, you never underestimate a patriot. When it comes to the action sequences, Viola Davis is not a stranger to this genre. When it comes to films like Widows, Suicide Squad, even The Woman King, which, a little personal side note, she was robbed of an Oscar nomination, but we're going to get to that another day. I do believe that while the intentions were honorable, they didn't exactly transfer all the way through. The ending and the story overall was formulaic and predictable, in my opinion. Here are some key things that we always see. We see some genius on the outside who isn't part of the group of people that are meant to be the most reliable in terms of intelligence. We also see people escape in mere seconds. And then we see well executed action from guns to combat. And while there's no discredit for the amount of work and believability when it comes to physical action, I just want to say that for once, I'd like to see a hostage movie and be surprised with an emotional death or a huge sacrifice towards the end, or even the main character dying. They got to change things up around here in order to not have an ending or a storyline that we are all familiar with. So I'm just saying that I want to see a change to throw me in for a loop that is well done. Also, AI is just not a conversation in the film industry. No, 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 no. It is also casually mentioned in this film, as well as crypto, electronic banking, surveillance, government control. It's an ongoing plot device that is used in this film, along with fake news, how gullible we are to believe things automatically online while possibly being deceived by AI, and the reliability that we have on technology in general, which does boost the gullibleness itself. When those are mentioned, I did think about the extent of what it can do. And in the wrong hands, oh, we would definitely see some worldwide chaos. Overall, this film isn't horrible. It's just there were certain things that, because it was formulaic and predictable, I would have liked to see something different. Now, the mango is not tart, but don't expect it to be fresh. It's a mere 5.5 for me. Now, it isn't Viola Davis's fault, and I love action thriller genres, but I want to make a mere suggestion for future screenwriters that are going to be associated with this genre. Let's think outside the box and get a little bit more creative. And for future film studios, take a chance, make a change, and break away from the formula. Okay, not me bringing in some Kelly Clarkson. Okay, I can't take it. Either way. Now, sometimes a mission like G20 can last a while, even in the darkest of the night, where we can face some horrific scenarios. That's literally what these next people experience in the horror thriller film Until Dawn, based on the popular video game, where it's directed by David F. Sandberg, who also directed Lights Out in 2013, Annabelle Creation, Shazam, and its sequel. It also stars Ella Rubin, Michael Cimino, Odessa Azion, Ji Young Yu, Belmont Camel, Maya Mitchell, and Peter Stormare, who reprises his role from the video game, and where y'all could see that PlayStation Studios had a big hand with this film. It was recently released on April 25th with a box office gross of roughly 22 million as of this moment, with a reported budget of 15 million. It also received 53% positive reviews from critics, and audiences ranked this so far with an average of a C plus letter grading. Now, first off, if I got any of these names wrong, please let me know. I am not the best when it comes to pronouncing names, so I am trying my best to do my research ahead of time and then see where I did wrong. So I don't mind being corrected if I mispronounce. Now let's talk about video game adaptations to the big screens. There are a fair share that have been released out there over the course of time, from Uncharted, Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed, and much more, where it's all about making sure that what's going to be interpreted to life is going to be very accurate. So for those that are not aware, Until Dawn is an interactive survival horror game with playable 8YAs, aka young adults, whose lives are threatened. And depending on the choices that are made in this game, that you can either survive or die. They have to find clues in order to solve the mystery while having to make some quick decisions that have unforeseen consequences. Now, so y'all can see how, hearing the news of this movie and expecting the trailer to drop, how gamers had high expectations. So now, my personal opinion, I enjoyed the film for what it is, a movie filled with multiple horror tropes and cliches compiled all into this one storyline when the clock gets rewinded each time. I mean, yo, literally, the common tropes that you can find in any other horror film, oh, they're found in this film. And even though these common tropes, you're going to see it firsthand, let's just say that when it comes to the jump scares, it'll still get some of you. I jumped in my seat for a couple of them. I found this film entertaining since I'm a fan of the slasher genre, and the kills are creative and gory, and ooh, they do not disappoint. Fair warning for those who did not listen to me in time before I'm going to watch The Monkey in February and are going to watch Until Dawn now. This is your heads up. Now, the game solely relies on making decisions and see what happens. It showcases that where they're at when they die, they know that they're not going to get the same repetition of an outcome. So They have to use their heads to solve the mystery. And to me, that was a solid resemblance in the film. Let's just say I was shitting myself when I was playing the game because some of those outcomes had me jump in the seat, like, whoa, okay. And then I died. So it is, it was crazy at that point. The cast are likable and the chemistry was well done in their group, particularly the character Megan. Well, she was a standout, in my opinion. To be honest, I felt more for her character than I did for the main character. Is that normal? Because I mean, because here's the thing, her deaths were more painful and gruesome than the others, and I thought, damn, like y'all got a vendetta against her or something? Like all because she was filling y'all signals or something? If you perceive this film as your just run of the mill horror film, you'll enjoy it as popcorn material and perhaps scream in the theater. Now, if you come from the gaming perspective, I'm going to say that there's a solid chance that you may walk out a bit disappointed and not what you expected. So, when there are good creative jump scares and intense situations of not having to make a sound and then not to expose your hiding spot, I'm here for it. After going through something horrific like Until Dawn, you definitely will need a therapist or a psychiatrist, or in this circumstance, maybe an accountant to financially get you back on track after all that therapy. Although this accountant does more than count your money. We have Ben Affleck portraying the title role in the sequel, The Accountant 2, directed by Gavin O'Connor, who also directed the first movie, and produced by Ben Affleck. Matt Damon also serves as an executive producer. Co-stars John Bernthal, Cynthia Adai Robinson, Daniela Pineda, correct me if I'm mistaken there, and J.K. Simmons. The Accountant 2 received 76% positive reviews from critics, which is a boost from the 53% from the first film, and it was graded an A minus on the average letter grading from audiences. As of this recording, it has grossed a total of 45 million with a budget of 80 million. So the first accountant, it was released back in 2016. And at the time, it got great feedback on Ben's performance, the action sequences, especially for a particular martial arts form that was portrayed in the film. And yet, the main criticism was the portrayal of autism. And in the sequel, I agree that it improved a lot by bringing his brother back into his life and enhancing their brotherly chemistry and the brotherly love that is demonstrated in there. That was a smart choice that didn't get anyone killed, at least not by a Wendigo. Now, gunshot, high key likely in this case. Now, not only did it feel relatable, we get to see Ben Affleck's character, Christian Wolf, humanized in scenarios, and I felt like I knew him more as a person. Now, for those who are not aware, a little a little educational background. People who are diagnosed on the spectrum of autism can range from being strong visual thinkers to interpreting language literally and missing a lot of social cues like sarcasm, humor, ambiguous instructions, and even some potential romantic gestures, the way that is usually perceived in romantic comedies and TV plots, etc. And even the ability to try to understand unspoken rules, it can be very challenging for those that are diagnosed with autism. And so is having to be direct and clear in order to avoid confusion. We see all of that with the brothers here, how they speak to each other, how Christian Wolf interprets the words of those around him, how he sees the world, how his mind works, and how his brother Braxton tries to talk to him and he has his own frustrating moments. And this is the thing, we feel for them both. And the first film didn't have much of that emotional depth. I overheard some people in the theater mentioning this as well, that Ben aged older than his age, and it's noticeable. It just surprised me from the smooth appearance that he had in the first film. Regardless, I found myself laughing in this one, and that surprised me because of how they delivered humor in this and the lack of humor much that was in the first film. So one of the standout lines that I remember that had everybody cracking up was when the brothers are sitting down and they're in this RV park talking to each other and they're sitting on the roof and money comes up as a conversation piece where it's about being a minimalist versus being a bit materialist and how their father wasn't cheap, he was frugal. So then Braxton, John Bernthal, shows off his watch and says something along the lines of, "You see this watch? What would dad say about this? And Christian replies, he'd say it tells the same time on his watch. Okay, let me tell y'all, the theater and I were cracking up. That was complete. I was not expecting that at all. And I mean, not gonna lie, he did spit facts there. And and also another standout scene. Picture this: both of them grabbing beers at a country bar. That's all I'm gonna say. You go ahead, watch the movie. You will see what I mean with that scene. It is a highlight for me in terms of a human interest piece. And for a bit, we see them both as human beings rather than gunmen, assassins. The brotherly love is the core that drives this movie, and it works very well. And then when it comes to the action scenes, a gunfight and combat, for both of them, it was well executed, no pun intended, and more thrilling than the first film. There is one particular scene in the movie that's about two-thirds in where it's like in the following action where the lighting combined with a certain flashback. Oh, I loved that creative choice. It was captivating, moving. It's an important part for a specific character in the film. Now, remember, I am not a spoiler on the big details, so don't even try me, y'all. Although, one thing I will say is without spoiling it, it's right before the flashback happens where anticipation is building up. You're on the edge of your seat, and the story is being taken to where Christian Wolf has to try to change the outcome. That's the most discreet thing that I can say about that without giving it away. So there is something there that I would have changed. And just like before I said with the amateur, the only way that you're going to get this information out of me is Q&As. When it comes to John Bernthal walking in, oh, they knew what they were doing. Let's just say it demonstrates eye candy, oh, obvious thirst trap. Y'all gotta watch it for yourself. So the plot is well written. Although I strongly advise to pay attention to the details because they do throw in a lot there. And some of y'all may get lost in the mix. So try to stay on track and maybe perhaps go with someone who can grasp what you may have missed if that's going to be the case. So to pull the accurate headshot of the review in this case, this film is hella fresh with my mango of an 8. I would go back and watch it again. And hell, I'm going to buy it on Blu ray. I do have the first one on Blu ray and a little PA for y'all. So, my mom loves the first movie, which I found it a bit odd because it's not that great of a film, in my opinion. And after it was released in theaters, y'all, everywhere we traveled, where we stayed in a hotel, where we went to a restaurant, etc. Somewhere around that time on the TV, the accountant would be on. And it would drive me crazy how this just kept happening. And I swear it could not be a coincidence. And my mom would just laugh every single time because what do you think about it? Figuratively speaking, Ben Affleck was following my mom. So, Ben Affleck, I'm just saying. After explaining all of that action, we will go ahead and take our first break here, and we will return with more insight on the other half of these films. Welcome back, y'all. Sometimes when it comes to being associated with this type of an accountant, we know the quote, revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, when it comes to being in touch with your dark side and letting that take over you, revenge can be numb, or in Anakin's case, enraged. Oh, just by the name Anakin Skywalker, y'all know the film that I'm about to review next. Now, even though this is not a new film, I am still going to review it regardless because one, it was re-released in theaters for its 20th anniversary, and two, this is the rare opportunity to express my nostalgia from when I first saw it as a kid versus rewatching it in the same capacity as an adult. Oh, I am hyped to talk about this. It is Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, the third movie in the prequel trilogy, which was directed and written by George Lucas, starring Hayden Christensen, Ewan McGregor, Christopher Lee, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, Frank Oz, Samuel L. Jackson, Natalie Portman. Revenge of the Sith was released on May 19, 2005. It grossed roughly $850 million, and it turned out to be the second highest grossing film of 2005 behind Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And it had a reported budget of 115 million. So, it was a profit for sure. It scored 80% positive reviews with critics, praised for its darker tone, the mature themes, the emotional depth. Ooh, that hit me deep. And the iconic action sequences. And the action sequences, in particular, the iconic one between master and student, Obi-Wan, Anakin, oof, it still lives rent free in my mind. It also scored an A minus on the average letter grading from audiences. And at the time, some of the criticism was for the screenplay and for Hayden's portrayal of Anakin, which I still believe it is uncalled for, which I'm going to get into that in a bit. Now, this film is considered by many to be the best installment of the prequel trilogy, and with the re-release, it actually ranked behind Sinners in the box office and earned roughly $50 million worldwide, which 30 million of that was from domestic theaters alone, aka here in the US. So it brings its total gross amount to $902 million. Y'all, it is so close to the $1 billion mark. I just hope that the force is strong with this one to cross that mark. Please let it cross that mark. Now, let's go into memory lane. I remembered when I first saw this movie. At this point, I was young and well aware of the Star Wars universe, having seen The Phantom Menace and The Attack of the Clones. And I saw it with my family and my older brothers. They educated me more in the Star Wars world. Now, mind you, The Phantom Menace was a huge deal everywhere. The anticipation for the large following that it had built with cinema lovers of that universe. Oh, and don't even get me started on the sold out tickets. It was hard to watch that movie that first weekend at any given time of the day. It was sold out from showing after showing, and even the next weekend, it was rough for those who didn't get the chance to see it firsthand. And the premiere alone, it brought extensive media coverage. And now, mind you, social media and YouTube were not around at that time. So we're talking about websites, newspapers, TV, or for some of y'all on the telly, etc. And it became the highest grossing film of 1999. And it expanded to toys, video games, family-friendly lightsabers, popular costumes, and more. I know because I played some of those popular games, and I did dress up as some of those costumes. Like some of y'all may be asking, why is he mentioning this first movie? Well, I'm trying to paint y'all a visual of how much hype episode 1 had, and overall the impact that this trilogy had on us. Now imagine Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Oh yeah, it had that much hype. The Phantom Menace, it was a return to the universe after there was only A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And there was a lot of talk, particularly in the late 80s and early 90s, that Star Wars was only going to be a trilogy. No more films were going to be forthcoming, and it was not going to turn into a franchise. You can imagine that when news of the Phantom Menace came about, that changed everything. Let's fast forward. 2005. Now picture the anticipation, the sold out seats, the first time reactions of getting your ticket, and the excitement to see everything firsthand with your friends, with your family. Maybe you're even on a date and you both love this universe so much, and you get to see firsthand Anakin becoming the legendary villain, Darth Vader. Especially after seeing the trailer, we couldn't miss this. Now remember, this movie was released in May. So, school was already ending, and we didn't care about schoolwork or the lack of sleep because this was one of the most anticipated films of the summer and of the year. Now, we go and get our tickets. We go in, we watch it. Oh my. I remember being floored by the fight scene between Anakin and Obi-Wan, which is my favorite Star Wars fight to this day. And I got so emotional with Padme's demise and the betrayal of Anakin joining the Sith and going to the dark side slowly, where we see there is a certain action that he does that just changes everything. And there's no way that he can go back now to being a Jedi. It changed his destiny, and the emotions. Y'all, they were not kidding on the depth of this. Now, I will say, that there were some flaws in the script. Some of the weakest scenes were the romance ones. It is still a very entertaining movie regardless, and to be honest, it is one of my top 5 Star Wars films of all the 12 that has been released. Now rewatching it as an adult, first off, it was a different experience when it came to the music score. It's more impactful, it's more intense. I was here for it, and I made sure to get the best scene in the house when it came to this re release. And when it came to the scenes where the emotions are supposed to hit, oh, I did cry at those parts. Yes, yo. The feelings were felt, and I did not bring Kleenex with me in this, and I know I should have, but you know what? Screw it. No F's were given at this point. Now, I still resonate with how fascinating this film is, and 20 years later, it is still beloved by audiences. The darker tone and the mature themes, the action sequences, the emotions, the whole package deal, all of that delivered on time like an Uber Eats driver. And it hit harder as an adult. Now, I believe critics were too harsh on Hayden Christensen's portrayal of Anakin. Now, was it a perfect portrayal? Absolutely not. But I didn't think that he was horrible. The pain that he conveyed, the execution of his anger, and he brought the range, and it did not feel as wooden as some critics slammed him to be. The mango is staying fresh. The force is strong with this one. Oh, and by the way, may the fourth be with y'all, or the sixth in this sense, where when this episode gets released. I'm not a Force junkie nor a Star Wars geek, but I do give credit where it's due for George Lucas creating a whole other world that brought billions of people to be fascinated with his creation and into the movie theaters. This is a solid 8 in my Mango book. And the fact that this movie grew in popularity in the late 2010s with numerous memes, say less. Now, when it comes to getting revenge, you may need to ask someone to help you out. You know, you might want to camouflage it as a simple favor. I mean, how simple can it be, right? In this case, a favor goes a long way with secrets, lies, and served with some martinis and olives, of course. It's giving aesthetics of Agatha Christie, Gillian Flynn, perhaps Harlan Cohen as well. Oh, for some of y'all that are not aware, those are well-known authors of mystery thrillers. If y'all don't read books and y'all just prefer to leave people on read, that's your decision. Now, we have another simple favor, a black comedy mystery film that serves as a sequel to the 2018 film A Simple Favor. This movie was released on May 1st at Amazon Prime and directed and produced by Paul Feig, starring Anna Kendrick, Blake Lively, Henry Golding, Andrew Rannells, Alex Newell, Elena Sophia Richie, and Allison Janney. It has, as of this moment, received 67% positive reviews from critics, and right now there's no letter grading yet from audiences, although after I did watch the film, I did go to threads to see people's thoughts, and there were a lot of mixed opinions from those loving the mystery, loving the thriller, to those hating it for, let's just say, some of their criticisms seem to be more personal and characteristic than constructive criticism. Now, let me get this off of my chest before I say my review of this film. No, I did not notice any difference when it came to the vibes from the two ladies, because I had mentioned before about their press tour and people were reading into it with the acting of the way they were being with each other and some tension and frustration there. No, I did not notice any of that transferring with their characters. Now, in real life, either they are cool with each other and people are just misinterpreting it with the body language and just over analyzing everything, or if they are not cool with each other, they kept a professional on set during the production. So, FYI, it ain't our business. Now, redirecting it back to the art. It definitely was quite an effective change. This film switches from motherhood to the mafia, which threw me a bit off, but knowing the black comedy mixed with the mystery genre, epic. I went with it. And the location itself, oh, it is beautiful. I like mystery thrillers when it comes to in the daytime, as opposed to the dark environments that we're usually keen to. I'm here for it. And to throw in the comedy that's mixed in there, oh, we can go 50-50. But in this case, the blend continued to work well. And the comedy bits do not fall flat. Especially big kudos to Vicky. She had me cracking up with her scenes, especially when she is drunk. So the outfits are definitely glamorous. The costume department did their homework on this one. The mystery thrills do not disappoint either. It had me guessing of what the end game was going to be for the sequel, and along the way, I was getting fascinated. Okay, look, I like this little detail. Then it took a turn that was off for me. Now, for some of those who have already seen it, some of y'all may not agree with how they took this story, and you know what? Some of y'all may like it. And you know what? All right, that's chill for me. Art is subjective, and this movie isn't horrible by any means. It's entertaining to watch. Although I did find it a bit odd where they developed this kind of twisted friendship with Emily and Stephanie. It wasn't exactly what I had in mind. And let's go to Anna and Blake's acting. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't exceptional either. Their catty remarks to each other, it felt like watching some verbal tennis, and it kept my attention the entire time. Like I was all, what is Emily really thinking? Is she playing mental chess to be ahead of Stephanie? And is she gonna lure her somehow into a trap? I don't want to trust her. And then with Stephanie, she knows what's going on, but yet is she trying to challenge her as well? I mean, there are a lot of thoughts that are happening here. And when it comes down to Blake's portrayal of her character, the simple looks and that subtle smile can be killer, all in her favor. So she also shows off more of her acting range, where that's towards the climax, but that's spoiler territory. So y'all need to watch it yourselves or go spoil yourself on TikTok. Now, this right here is a spoiler free space, period. Now, the supporting cast, they did well with their parts. The directing for me was well done by Paul Feig. And to sum it up, it's a sequel that doesn't surpass the first one, and it wasn't one that none of us really asked for, but I will give them kudos for getting close to the first one when it comes to entertainment and creativity and not going that far off on the story. The writing in the climax part could have been revised for, in my personal opinion, there's something that I would have changed, but that's just me. Now, it's an average mango in my book. I would give this a 6.5. I'd watch it again with a friend if anyone is down to watch it. And for a mere suggestion for viewers after watching this film, when y'all express your opinions, let's remember to think logically on the work itself instead of reacting personally. I know there are blurred lines when it comes to the actor versus the character, so that's something to keep in mind before activating those trigger fingers recklessly. We know that favors are no longer simple anymore. Not when they involve killings, bloodshed, and how one moment can change the rest of your life. Perhaps even thinking that maybe you have sinned. Well, that would be a mindfuck type of faith. So, we're going to go from modern Capri to the Jim Crow era. Y'all, this is the final review. Ooh, okay, hold on. I have got to adjust my seat because I am elated to spill all of this. So go refill your popcorn bucket now because this is going to get juicy and passionate. After a couple of weeks, I am talking about Sinners. Yo, an original film directed, written, and produced by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan in dual roles as Smoke and Stack, with the supporting actors of Haley Steinfeld, Miles Cannon, Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Mosaku, Jamie Lawson, Omar Miller, Lee Jun Lee, Yao, and Delroy Lindo. It was released on April 18th, and the strong word of mouth this film got from the jump. Okay, here we go. It has received 98% positive reviews from critics, 96% positive reviews from audiences, with a grade of a solid A. And recently, y'all, it just grossed $207 million with a reported budget of $90 million. And that includes TV spots and all the promo that they had to do. Oh, it just needed $170 million to break even. So now, not only is it profitable, it worked harder than most horror films had to bring out to the masses when it came to the promo. Let me tell y'all, it worked. It has already cemented itself as one of the most talked films of the year. And yo, we are barely in the second quarter of 2025. Whew, okay, let me get myself together and I've got to compose myself. So Let me start by saying that I knew that original movies are not dead. You just gotta be bold and you gotta make them gold. Now, Ryan did that. By the way, if I shed a tear or two during this recording, you've been warned. I'm giving you all a heads up here. They were not holding back on the promo, that's for sure. And I walked in the theater with no expectations since this is an original film. I had no idea how this was gonna play out. And I even thought, okay, there maybe this is overhyped. Boy, was I wrong. The beginning takes its time to set everything up. The setting, the different characters that are introduced, and the plot, and Smokey and Stack initiating all of this. So when the time comes and it hits, oh, it hits hard like the big bang. We're thinking like, where is he gonna go with all of this? And then Haley Steinfeld walks in. Oh no. By this time, y'all must have seen the viral clips of her famous lines from this movie. And okay, so seeing it before this became a media sensation, literally in its first weekend. Oh, y'all. She's walking up here with her Southern Belle accent, and then literally 30 seconds later, she says a mouthful where I was gagged. The gasp and the laughter and the shock I heard from the people in the theater. Oh, it filled the room. Pearls were clutched. Seats got moved from them being shook. We were caught way off guard. Whoa, 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 whoa. Miss Mary over here say, what? I was like, oh, we're going there. Ryan knew how to throw us a curveball with that. Like that went from 0 to 100 real quick. And then you see that over the course of the film, it builds up and it plays out because we get to the club. And that is where everything goes down, especially with the quote, boy, if you don't get the fuck out of my face. Oh, and y'all, the drool scene. I'm not even going to say much more about that, but damn, she was bringing baddie energy and attitude. And when she just like, she walks in like, feeling the music. And the gag is she was committed. Haley Steinfeld was my favorite performance in the entire movie. And I'm going to let y'all know, Michael B. Jordan did the damn thing with his dual roles of the twin cousins, Smoke and Stack. He draws you in from the beginning and takes you to the very end. They both did an incredible job. Now let's redirect it back to the club. We see that there's banter going on. There's people enjoying their time. There's some private drama, some private convos, and it's supposed to be deemed as a memorable night of people coming together. So once the anticipation builds up and you see how slowly the contamination spreads. This is where shit hits the fan and we're in for an emotional roller coaster. Now we have comedy, we have drama, we have suspense thriller, and now we've got action to throw in there as another genre. Everything here from on out is just, it's engaging. It's top notch. It is enchanting. It is compelling. I can go synonym after synonym with this. Now, all of this is happening because of music. For some of those who have not seen it yet, yeah, what you doing? Music is the backbone of this film and how every action has a reaction. So music is the action. The vampires are the reaction. And it is explained in the movie. And so my favorite scene includes the music awakening in the middle of the film, where it awakens the past, it embraces the present, and even incorporates the future. Oh, y'all, it literally almost made me cry the first time that I saw it. And then I did cry the second time. Oh, yeah, y'all. Y'all best believe that I didn't watch this movie only one time. Like, after feeling what I felt after the credits rolled and I walked out of that theater, oh, I had to return. This scene hit me hard. It was masterfully created. Ryan Coogler is a genius. And like I mentioned before, we had drama, comedy, bits of horror and thrills and the action. We even got some eroticism. And now we've got musical with the singing. And then, y'all, I was jamming in my seat. Like people at church, when they feel the Holy Ghost, I was like, like I was feeling it. There is one character where, how shall I put this? Changes the course and starts this whole climax. And For those who have seen it already, y'all know who I'm talking about. And for some of my friends, if I send y'all this picture, that's when you know, oh, some chaos is about to ensue. Now, my lips are sealed on this. So when the climax happens and the anticipation, the thrills, and all of this is happening, and we're just captivating. We do not want to deviate from the screen. Now, I will say that as it gets closer to the ending, I did not know how this movie was going to end. I mean, sure, I speculated some character deaths. I theorized maybe they're going to go this route. But the way it got there with every single little thing, every strategy, oh, this is the only time that I want to tell y'all so bad what happens. But y'all have to see this movie yourself, and that way you can pay attention to all of these little details. Even though that is an MCU known tactic, Sinners does have a mid post credit scene, and it does have an after credit scene that serve as a memorable, thought provoking ending. Now, there is huge significance there that just it got me in the feels. And I will say that I recently saw this TikTok that was sent to me about the Sinners mid post credit scene and the after credit scene. Oh, it had me thinking. And I have my thoughts about how I view it, but that's all I'm gonna say about it. If y'all want to spoil it for yourself, then y'all can go to TikTok. But I strongly recommend that y'all watch the movie first, gather your thoughts, and then if you want to know what's going on, then you can go to TikTok and then see who is going to spoil it for you. Because not me, not moi. I want y'all to just to see this masterpiece yourself. It just got me in the feels of how the course of one night can just change everything. And so let's get into the details. The elements and the visuals of Sinners being a multi-genre blend that is incorporated throughout the course of this movie, y'all, that is a rarity to pull off, which, like I said before, it is a masterpiece. And the themes that I saw of Black ownership while living in the Jim Crow era, the visuals of color coding, and the representation of what music was as establishing the cultural legacy and the resistance of those that try to appropriate that. Oh, that was so powerful to witness. And the fact that vampires are included in the story, where they're seen as not just night creatures, not just as bloodsuckers, that how we know them for, but they are metaphors for cultural exploitation and appropriation, especially with music. Oh, I was enriched in the creative endeavor. Especially there's this one scene where it's being done outside. Oh, it spoke volumes to my soul. Like I picked up that cultural exploitation and the cultural depth literally shown right there in our face in those forms of vampires. There's literally no other way to spin this. Like how one bite and converting to the other side, it can dominate the groups and the emotions and the actions that are done from these characters to fight the resistance. There is some spiritual conflict happening here with Christianity versus African ancestral practices, in particular with the character Annie. Now, this is not a big spoiler, it's just part of the plot device. So it's not really much of a struggle. It's just the fact that Annie offers protective charms and rituals, whereas Christianity is introduced in the beginning and it occurs throughout in its different forms. So for those that are Christian, y'all should know what I'm talking about. Now, I did see online how some people said this one thought that I had in my mind throughout watching this movie. Where are the Latinos? Because we see Asian representation. The black is obvious. Mix is sprinkled in there with Haley's character Mary and real life as well. Because fun fact for y'all, Haley Steinfeld, she is, I believe, 1/8 black in real life. So that is very fascinating to learn. Go watch on YouTube and you'll get more in depth about it. And so I was like, I don't see any Latinos here. Now, I'm not trying to start anything because let's do our research. Now, I believe that at this time, if I am historically accurate, there were some Mexican Americans that did get deported, and depending on the location and the city of where this is taking place, this could have been during the Mexican repatriation. Now, that's a question more for Ryan to answer, and I would like to hear more about it if he has some thoughts about it. So, to summarize this whole film from the jump, upon reflection, when you leave the theater, you spiral back to something that you didn't notice before. And you come upon it after the credits roll, which to me, that's why I wanted to go see it again. And I've been promoting it big on my social media and with friends. I was just mind blown by literally everything that was put in this film, from the acting to the directing. Like, y'all, I still can't stop thinking about it as of right now. And to be honest, this is my favorite film of this year so far. I have no doubt that by the end of the year, it'll either stay number one or it's going to be in my top three. So this is the freshest mango rating that I've ever reviewed ever since Avatar: The Way of Water. And this is the most juiciest mango with a 9.8. It is literally almost a perfect film. And dear Warner Brothers, I expect there to be a full Oscar campaign push for all of the major awards: Best Original Screenplay, Best Director, Best Picture, Best Ensemble Cast, all of the acting categories, the best score. This film needs to get recognized from the Academy. The people are speaking in the receipts. And so y'all get to listening and y'all get to acting. Whew, okay, so this is the most passionate I've expressed for a film in a long time. And no tears happened. So I'm surprised then, because I thought I was going to shed a tear or two. And I may need an oxygen tank. So you know what? I've got some water here. So let me get some. Hmm. Okay. So I will definitely be needing a break here. So, oh yeah, y'all, we're not done yet. I still have a little bit more ground to cover when we return. So stick around. Welcome back, y'all. For those that are listening, I had to drink some water before to catch my breath from all of that Sinners talk. I can go forever about this movie, but let's be real. I know I haven't mentioned a TV update for y'all, so I'm going to change things up a bit with my binging. And so here we go. Now, in my downtime, I do like to watch TV from the latest series and even watch some nostalgia series from my safe space. I'm currently watching Paradise. Now, I'm a little bit late to the game when it comes to this series, so bear with me. And so far, I'm liking these couple of episodes. It is a much hyped show, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. Sterling K. Brown is a phenomenal actor, and to me, he is a parallel of Viola Davis, where they both know how to understand their assignments, they both know how to dive deep into their characters, and they bring A plus acting. So I've got a feeling that this is going to be another favorite modern series of mine. I did hear that it was renewed for a second season. So once I finish this series, I'm going to provide my thoughts about it to see where they're going to take this from the finale. And I'm going to let y'all know what I feel overall. Also, I finished watching Mid-Century Modern on Hulu, which was executive produced by Ryan Murphy and stars Nathan Lane, Matt Bomer, Nathan Lee Graham, and the late Linda Lavin, which unfortunately was her final TV role before she passed. So my condolences to those that were in her circle, and I'm sending my well wishes. So first off, this show is hilarious. The writing is sharp and witty. The lines and the humor that are set in here are not only relatable for those in the LGBTQ plus community, but they also provide entertainment for allies as well. It's been labeled the Golden Gaze, which I can actually see some parallels to it with the classic TV series The Golden Girls in the 80s. So Mid-Century Modern only has 10 episodes for season one. So if you have Hulu, go ahead and check it out for yourselves if you're into have your stomach hurt of laughter. Another note, I Saw You has aired its fifth and final season on Netflix, which has an ending, but not for the books. And you'll see what I mean. I've seen the first couple of episodes already so far, and it seems to be going in quite a different direction than I thought. I do feel while it doesn't provide the same thrills like it does in the first three seasons, it is still interesting to sit through because of some of the creative direction that they have decided to embark upon for Joe Goldberg's journey and the other characters that are in his circle. Now, I have been notified about new shows that are new to my eyes, like Tracker and Watson, which I will look into to see how those shows fare up. And also, yes, I know some of y'all were thinking about Abbott Elementary. I am midway in season three, so I could try to catch up with season four because I heard that there was changes in season four, but without spoiling it for myself. So this show, y'all, I can see it going for like 20 plus seasons because this humor, it just doesn't stop. Now, with the hilarity of this content of Abbott Elementary, I hope to get an 8-pack here. I am just saying. Before I was recording this episode, I literally just saw the trailer for The Better Sister, which is a new original thriller series that is adapted from the 2019 novel of the same name. It is set to air on Amazon Prime on May 29th, starring Jessica Biel, Elizabeth Banks, Corey Still, and Kim Dickens. I'm intrigued. I love thriller novels and thriller series, as y'all can tell, especially ones that are well acted and with great plot twists. I haven't seen Jessica Biel in a while, so I can't wait to see what she brings to this table, especially after The Sinner. Like, I love to see her on screen. So this is on my watch list. And when the time comes, I'm going to update y'all about my thoughts on the first couple of episodes. Because I hope that it only airs the first 2 episodes and then it keeps airing weekly. Okay, that is enough from me, y'all. I want to hear some of your thoughts. I want to hear what are some current shows that are on your radar and what are you currently watching? Because, I mean, don't always let me do the talking. I know this is my podcast, but I want to hear from y'all. So don't be shy, leave a comment, share your thoughts. Let's segue into the juicy segment that is of the movie buzz. Now, because of my extensive review for Sinners, which was well deserved, by the way, only a bit of buzz is going to be covered for this segment, and the rest is going to be saved for the next episode. So, for this one, you may want to get a small popcorn, a small drink, and perhaps a candy that if you want. So, let's dive into the movie buzz. Now, recently, Jamie Lee Curtis admitted that in an interview for Entertainment Weekly that she called the studio directly in order to get Freakier Friday made. And she has all our gratitude to thank, which is a high mountain to climb. I mean, to have the cojones to call the CEO of the studio and make your stance on getting this sequel made, all her iconic status as a beloved Nepo baby, scream queen, veteran, well respected actress has quite the pull. Dear Jamie Lee Curtis, thank you for granting our wishes for a Freakier Friday sequel. You are always going to be well respected. I cannot wait to see the sequel. Now, in sequel news, we will be getting a Roadhouse 2 with Guy Ritchie officially set to direct this sequel, and we will see Jake Gyllenhaal reprise his role as Elwood Dalton, the troubled former UFC middleweight fighter. Now, Guy Ritchie and Jake have worked previously together on The Covenant in 2023, so I feel that this is going to work well, and I enjoyed this version of Roadhouse, so I will say it right here. I predict that I'm going to enjoy this sequel. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that this is Jake's first sequel that he's ever been involved in. Now, I believe all the films that he did after Brokeback Mountain, I believe that they were standalones. Let me see. He did Zodiac. He also did Brothers, Prince of Persia. He did Love and Other Drugs, Source Code, End of Watch, Prisoners, Enemy, Nightcrawler, Southpaw, Everest, Nocturnal Animals, Life, Stronger, Velvet Buzzsaw, The Guilty, Ambulance, The Covenant, and now Roadhouse. This has to be, yeah, I believe that this has to be the first. No, okay, wait, hold on. Unless y'all count the cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home as a sequel involvement, although I was about to say I personally don't think so because that was archived footage that was used from Spider-Man Far From Home. So that's my take on it. So if y'all disagree, okay, let's go ahead and talk about it. Anyway, be on the lookout for more updated news on Roadhouse 2. And you can still check out the first Roadhouse on Amazon Prime if you have yet to see it. I don't know how many of y'all have heard about this latest news, and some of y'all may be wondering why I'm mentioning this. Well, when I provide the full picture, you will see why. I mentioned earlier about Sinners and how popular it has become, and I like it just a little bit. It wasn't that much. Well, here's the deal. Ryan Coogler's deal with Warner Brothers is dubbed the movie deal that made Hollywood lose its mind. And here is why it's getting extensive media coverage. When it comes to movies being made, yes, the directors' names are on there, and they are a pivotal part of a movie being made with its stance onto society, along with a village of thousands of other people that help make this come true. We have producers, we have actors, the CGI team, the whole ordeal, hair and makeup, costume, etc. But when it comes to the rights, the legalities, the ownerships, not all the not so fun stuff for most people, kind of like reading the terms of agreement at the very end. Well, usually The ownerships go to the production companies who distribute the movie and the ones who help get it financed, with a guesstimated budget depending on the genre, the actors that are cast, and the director, etc. And of course, the rights are broken down in different categories, which I am not going to bore y'all with those details. It is a lot to get through, and we're going to be here all day as well. And I am not trying to get that Dumbledore beard. No. What is important about this deal? Now, this deal states that in 2050, which is 25 years from now, Ryan Coogler will have full ownership to Sinners, which he said was non negotiable. He also got retention of the final cut rights before being released to the theaters. This mirrors the central theme that was mentioned earlier of Black ownership in the Jim Crow era. And we see how negotiations is the main thread within the film, where nobody had the audacity to pull that kind of stunt in those days, like Smoke and Stack did, aka what Ryan is doing now with Warner Brothers, and how this deal has generated much discussion and even some controversy from some views. So get this, it has upset some people in the industry due to the headline that Vulture posted in an article stating Hollywood execs fear that Ryan Coogler's Sinners deal could end the studio system, end quote. Supposedly, an anonymous executive stated that this is a very dangerous precedent since it gives filmmakers greater control of their work and financial benefits, plus establish a ripple effect with other filmmakers wanting to make these kind of deals. And so with this deal being secured, y'all may not see the long-term effects that this has, so check this out. Ryan Coogler can also earn royalties when the movie gets played on streaming services, when it has airs reruns on TV, like when you go stay at a hotel or when you go to a restaurant and you see in the background of TVs, or when you're in your hotel room, you want to relax and there's a Sinners on that channel, Ryan gets paid for that. Because usually when it comes to that, the studios are the ones that get paid because they're the ones that have the ownership. They're the ones that reap those benefits. So this mofo basically is set for life with this deal. Now, here is the thing. Ryan Coogler is a huge part in bringing money and profits to the studios with putting seats in the theaters, including mine. He is a box office draw and he is loved by critics in the industry. So why shouldn't he make this deal and get the ownership of the original film that he crafted himself from the moment the ink hit the paper and it turned into a script? Legally, this seems to be like a genius move on his part. And not only that, I mean, I didn't see this big controversy and of headlines everywhere when Quentin Tarantino secured his copyright control deal for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mel Gibson also has ownership rights to The Passion of the Christ, and Peter Jackson owns the copyrights to his versions of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit series. Those directors were able to make similar deals to Ryan's, and they got ownerships of their work. Why is it only Ryan getting this dangerous narrative with the mainstream media and with Hollywood executives? That is something for y'all to ponder around and go ahead and share your thoughts. Because I know I usually focus on the craft and how art imitates life. But when I heard of this topic being talked around and this fact that this was a huge topic of discussion online, I found this very intriguing, especially when there are people that are casual moviegoers. They're inputting their thoughts and people are not afraid to share their input. So I figured y'all should get the full scope of what I've uncovered. Whew, okay, let me drink some water again because this was quite a jam-packed of an episode. This was the most passionate as of now. This was the most passionate episode I've delivered as of now. And this is all that I have for y'all today. I'm not going to forget to leave a positive quote for y'all. No, 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 no. I am not just going to dip and leave y'all hanging. So here is my positive quote. Know your value and your worth. No one will be able to make you feel worthless once you realize it. Stand up for yourself and leave the table if respect is no longer being served. Whew, okay. After this whirlwind of an episode, I am going to go outside and get some fresh air. And I suggest y'all do the same whenever y'all get the chance and wherever y'all are hearing this from. So y'all enjoy the rest of your day or night, and I will catch y'all next time.